There was a guy named Morgan, and he spent his early years working as a valet at a fancy hotel. One of his frequent guests was a technology executive. He was some kind of a genius. He had designed and patented a key component in the Wi-Fi system that we use today. He had started and sold several companies. He was wildly successful, and he had a relationship with money that was both insecure and childish. He would do crazy things like carry a stack of $100 bills and show them to anybody that wanted to see them and many people who did not. One day he handed one of Morgan's colleagues several $1,000s in cash. He told him to go down to the jewelry store and get a few $1,000 gold coins. About an hour later, with the gold coins in hands, the tech executive was skipping them like rocks into the oceans with some of his friends. A few days later, he ended up shattering a very expensive lamp inside of the hotel. The manager told him that that lamp had costed $500 and that he was going to have to replace it. And the tech executive said, "You want $500? Here's $5,000. Now get out of my face and don't ever be disrespectful to me like that again." And you might be thinking, how long can this behavior last? And the answer is not long at all. Morgan goes on to tell us that a few years later, he finds out that the guy ended up going dead broke. The premise of the book that we're reading today is that money has little to do with how smart you are and a lot to do with how you behave. And behavior is hard to teach. A genius who loses their control can be a financial disaster. And the opposite is also true. Ordinary people with no financial training can become wealthy if they have a handful of behaviors and skills. Now, this story comes from the first couple pages of The Psychology of Money, and I just got done reading this book, and I really wasn't sure what to think or expect when I first had ordered the book, but now that I've actually had the opportunity to read it, I can tell you that it is a definite must read. The book consists of 20 chapters, and each chapter is based on a core lesson. And today we're going to talk about 4 of those lessons, and if you like what you hear today, you should consider getting the book. Now, the first lesson is wealth is what you don't see. And Morgan says in the book, wealth is the nice cars not purchased, the diamonds not bought, and the watches not worn. He says that wealth is the financial assets that haven't been converted into the stuff you see. So when we see nice things, we automatically, in a lot of cases, assume an increase of value into the person that owns those things. And to be fair, this might be true, and it also might not be true at the same time. Morgan tells us that there is no way for us to know based on outward appearances alone. And the next lesson is getting versus keeping. Getting money requires taking risks, being optimistic, and putting yourself out there. But keeping money requires a totally different mindset. It requires humility and fear that what you've made can be taken away from you just as fast. It requires frugality and an acceptance that what you've made, or at least some of what you've made, is attributable to luck, so past successes can't be relied upon to repeat indefinitely. And really there are 2 frames of mind, getting and keeping. Both require different skill sets. They also require different thought processes. We can take calculated risks, be optimistic, and try new things. And if you remember, we talked previously about the 10,000 experiments rule. In order to keep, however, we basically need to penny pinch like there's no tomorrow. Now, the next tip from the book is to avoid lifestyle inflation. The idea is simple but easy to overlook. Building wealth has little to do with your income or investment returns, and it has a lot to do with your savings rate. And increasing one's lifestyle is pretty easy to do in good old America. There's a lot of things to buy, plenty of ways to pay for it, but a great way that we can get ahead is by not increasing our lifestyle when things are good. And the next tip is to save aggressively when times are good. And this is from page 218 in the book, where Morgan quotes Charlie Munger. The first rule of compounding is to never interrupt it unnecessarily. And honestly, this advice is golden, and it also tracks. I've received the same advice from my dad, Tillman Fertitta, Warren Buffett, and about a dozen other professionals. When times are good, we can get ahead by saving and investing as much as possible, even if it's just a little. And that's what I'm gonna be working on, is saving more when the times are good. So remember that wealth is what you don't see. The differences between getting and keeping. Consider avoiding lifestyle inflation and try to save aggressively when the times are good. You can check out the article in the description for more details, and I look forward to seeing you guys in the next video.